Hello everyone, welcome to StudyIQ English. Wishing all of you a very happy Diwali. Lots of prosperity, good health and success. For today's video, we shall talk about how India and Brazil have decided to once again increase the trade relationship between one another by enhancing the existing preferential trade agreement between India and the South American bloc MERCOSUR. So that's making news right now. The overall purpose of the agreement is the very fact that India, right now, as one of the leading economies of the world, is still trying to grapple with the impact of America's high tariff rate. After the 50% tariff imposed by President Trump as a punishment, as a penalty, which America still feels is valid, because recently President Trump once again reiterated that India was given such a high tariff because India continues to import oil and gas from Russia, an idea that is not okay with America. In that light, and in the ongoing animosity of trade, the President of America has no intention to actually reduce the tariff of 50%. But for India, on the one hand, it was a shock because America and India had a huge volume of bilateral trade. America was one of the largest markets for Indian exports, but today, as India is recalibrating its priorities, trying to still deal with the effect of the US tariff, India is busy diversifying its market. Whether it was about creating the Tianjin Declaration at Shanghai Cooperation Organization, whether it's about rethinking about the RCEP, various agreements with ASEAN countries, or whether it's about the recently concluded India UK free trade agreement. India is trying to find new markets, new trade partners. And in this light comes another news today as India and Brazil, during a meeting, during a bilateral high level meeting, have decided that India will now enhance, focus more upon India and Mercosur. So, exactly what is Mercosur? Why is it important for the UPSC exam? And what is this new agreement that India and Brazil have done? Are some things we shall look into. So, India and Brazil, very recently, in fact, it was just 2 days before, that they decided to expand their existing trade. They already have a trade agreement that's called Preferential Trade Agreement that was signed long back between 2003 to 2005. It came into being in 2009 formally. Today, both the countries are trying to only increase the volume of bilateral trade and investment. And the government of Brazil has committed that yes, India's engagement with MERCOSUR bloc will only increase. That's a South American bloc. India and MERCOSUR members, therefore, will now enhance, improve, expand the existing preferential trade agreement. And this agreement, as I mentioned, was signed back in 2003. Today, we have decided together to take one step ahead in that direction. So, for the UPSC exam, what exactly is the MERCOSUR group? So, the MERCOSUR group is about a Southern Common Market. It's a South American regional economic organization. We all have seen after so many wars that happened in the world. Now, whether you take the background of Russia, Ukraine, or the West Asian crisis in the form of Israel Palestine, one thing is very clear that large scale global projects have had a setback. Whether it's the IMEC, India Middle Eastern European Economic Corridor, that was also stalled because of West Asian conflict, or whether it's the BRI of China, the Belt and the Road Initiative, that's still in controversy. Large scale global projects have in fact subsided. And in terms of importance, it is the regional blocs which are dominating right now. Whether you say India's participation engagement with Quad, India's recently concluded bilateral agreement with Australia, UK, with various other countries of EU, with China. Today we are also looking at the MERCOSUR as a South Asian regional grouping. This agreement could mean huge market for Indian exports. The big, massive South American markets could mean much more benefit in terms of trade for India. And that's what India is looking at because Mercosur is the fourth largest integrated market in the world after European Union, after the NAFTA the North American Free Trade Agreement, and the ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. So remember that MERCOSUR, the fourth largest integrated market in South America, was created back in 1991 via the Treaty of Asuncion. It was signed at a place called Paraguay. So the Treaty of Asuncion, and what was the objective? The objective was economic integration between neighboring countries of South America, free movement of goods and services, capital, people to people migration, and it then in 1995 upgraded its status to become a custom union as well. So, a group that originally comprised only of Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay later expanded, and Bolivia and Venezuela also became key members. That's about making the group much more large in terms of its footprint. Now, Venezuela also has been in the news because just yesterday we discussed about how once the Venezuelan pro-democracy freedom, uh, activist, pro-democracy rights activist, Miss Maria had got the Nobel Peace Prize of 2025. How was it creating a conflicting claim from President Trump of America? How yesterday United Nations charters, Article 2, Article 51 were in the news. America was bombarding various boats of Venezuela near the Colombia border, saying that these boats are carrying narcotics and drugs. So Venezuela has been in the news throughout. Also because of America's suspicious attitude towards Venezuela, given Venezuela's links with China, Russia. So all that was making the geopolitical headlines. Today, Venezuela is once again in the news as we are mentioning the MERCOSUR group, the South American group. So Venezuela and Bolivia had joined later, but Venezuela was suspended in 2016. Now, talking about MERCOSUR other partners, it also counts Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Guyana, Peru, and Suriname as associate members. And why was Chile in the news recently? And Colombia also was in the news just last week. So please keep linking things to each other. That helps us in remembering current affairs much better. So Chile was in the news because we were talking about India, Australia having created an agreement in semiconductors as well as rare earth materials, the rare earth materials. And we also discussed why, apart from Australia, it is Chile who also has large reserves of rare earth materials or rare earth elements, right? So we were talking about all the various countries which lead in reserves of rare earth and the supply chain being dominated by China. That's why in the news. But why was Colombia in the news? Specifically, Colombia border was in the news. So if you know why, do let me know in the comment box and then we can talk about it. So looking at overall history of MERCOSUR, remember it was made in 1991, the fourth largest integrated market in the world. The key members being Paraguay, Uruguay. At the same time, associate members are there like Chile. We spoke about Colombia. So because we are talking about MERCOSUR, let's understand that India and MERCOSUR also were in the news because both India and the regional group of MERCOSUR had signed up the PTA, the Preferential Trade Agreement. It was signed long back in 2004, 2005 period. In 2006, the India-Mercosur Preferential Trade Agreement was expanded further. It was expanded by increasing more number of products in the list and many more tariff discounts, much more tariff concessions. Both sides agreed to that. In 2009, formally the India-Mercosur Agreement, the PTA, came into effect. Today, fast forward to 2025, both the countries only want to expand that. Because if you look at the situation currently, then an agreement that formally came into force in 2009 is seeing 10 to 20% preferential duty in case of most products. About 450 Indian products have been entering the MERCOSUR market and they have been enjoying this concession. There is a reciprocal concession. India also provides concession, tariff discounts to products coming from MERCOSUR. About 450 products from MERCOSUR that come into India are also heavily discounted. Very less tariff duties on them. So the aim overall is to strengthen existing relationship, to further promote trade by increasing reciprocal tariff discounts. And today in 2025, the countries are saying, both Mercosur countries and India, they say that 450 products are not enough. Let us expand the preferential trade agreement to include many more products in future. Let's come out of the 450 upper limit and expand tariff discounts to many more areas. Then it aims to enable a great portion of products, services from getting these tariff discounts. Very soon, in few weeks to come, technical dialogue will also be conducted in the form of a joint administrative committee between India and Mercosur. They will talk about not just trade, not just tariff, but also many other ways in which economic partnership can be facilitated. Now, remember, for India, it is not only a big market, a heavily populated market that will give Indian exports a good access, but it is also about the rich reserves. Venezuela, a country that has one of the largest known oil and gas reserves. India had to discontinue its oil and gas imports from Venezuela owing to America's pressure much long back. Today, the country is still often caught up in civil war but rich in resources. Similarly, Chile, great amount of rare earth elements. That could also be a great economic benefit for India in the long term. Both India and Mercosur are also now trying to talk about cooperating with each other in AI, artificial intelligence, chip fabrication technology, high performance computing. Talking about Brazil, Brazil is India's largest Latin American trading partner. The bilateral trade, if you look at the number, it's about $12.19 billion. In 24-25, that's the volume of trade. The goal is to increase it to $20 billion in just next 5 years. So once again, 2030 is the target year. We often keep talking about 2030 as the target year for so many achievements, not just our NDCs, nationally determined contributions, not just the SDG, Sustainable Development Goal, but many more agendas. Today comes one more. So, existing trade, if it's around $12 billion, it needs to be pushed up to $20 billion by 2030. Then, talking about how India wants to have a more strong foothold in South American market, because if the leading was America, it is being impacted by tariff. If second came West Asia, then West Asia is having extreme geopolitical crisis. It is still ongoing. Plus Saudi Arabia and Pakistan's agreement to protect each other. The bilateral strategic mutual defense agreement has also made India a little cautious about India's Saudi relation. So today's Latin American countries, including Brazil, which are heavily populated, yes, they also have a youth bulge, they are young countries, they have consumer demand. These could be a great area for India to diversify its exports into. Both the countries benefit. For South America, access to Indian products at a cheaper rate with good tariff. For India, not just more export income, not just a surplus trade balance, but also so many jobs being created in India, because most of these export sectors are labor intensive sectors. Okay, so it's a win-win situation. Let's see how the situation evolves in the future. In the meantime, quick practice question. Consider the following statements regarding Mercosur preferential trade agreement with India. 1. Mercosur is a regional trade bloc that comprises Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay. 2. The India-Mercosur preferential trade agreement came into force in 2009 formally, although it was signed much earlier. 3. The agreement provides tariff concessions on selected products between India and Mercosur member countries. And 3 and 4, Chile and Bolivia are the founding members of this group, and automatically they included India in the preferential trade agreement. So which of these statements do you think are valid? You can post your answer, you can express your opinion, you can talk about why was Colombia in the news in the last 2 weeks. Okay, now before I take your leave, as I wish you a very happy Diwali, let me also inform you about the great Diwali gift that we have here for you. You can become a part of the StudyIQ family and enable a much better mentorship, professional guidance for your UPSC preparation. All you need to do is that if you are writing the exam next year, that's 2026, limited time is left. So we have the fast track batch a sale that's called GS Foundation P21 sale, which means across all GS subjects, all topics, current affairs, news, you get heavy discount. The course starts at 7499, Hindi English bilingual, happening in October morning batch, evening batch. Okay. And how can you apply for the sale? Either you can use codes live here and directly apply for it, you will get the discount. The sale ends on 22nd October. Similarly, if you are writing exam in 2027, start now. Well begun is half done. The price is unbelievably low, 18,999. For all the GS courses, as I promised, current affairs, news, CSAT, everything. And then, of course, heavy discount additional, a bonus on the optionals too. The sale is valid only till 22nd October, Hindi English bilingual, and some similar thing is for 2028 also. So for that also, you can apply by typing the codes live on your screen. And in case you want to hear from us, clarification is what you're looking for, then please fill up the form in the description box of this video and we will get back to you. So thank you so much and all the very best.